The Lakers have once again been linked to possible moves on the trade market, and the conversation this time circles back to one of the team's biggest ongoing questions. Do they really need to spend valuable assets and money chasing a backup center? A proposed deal that has made the rounds would send out Gabe Vincent, Dalton Knecht, Jackson Hayes, a first-round pick, and a pick swap in a three-team framework involving Dallas and Brooklyn. In return, Los Angeles would get Haywood Highsmith and Daniel Gafford. On paper, that might sound like a clean way to secure a strong rim protector, but the reality is a lot more complicated. Backup centers in today's NBA just do not hold the same value they once did. Most of these guys are asked to give you 12 to 15 minutes during the regular season, and once the playoffs start, that number usually shrinks to around 8 minutes because your starter is logging 35 or more. The margin between one backup big and another is razor thin, and that is why the Lakers have to be careful about overpaying. Using premium draft capital for a player who is going to see the court in short spurts at best is not just risky. It could take away from opportunities to fill far more pressing needs. That is why Jackson Hayes remains such an interesting figure. While he is raw, he does bring energy, athleticism, and the vertical spacing that can at least give the Lakers 10 solid minutes off the bench. The hope is that in a smaller role he can thrive, because as a starter in New Orleans, it was clear defenses eventually figured him out once the lob threat was taken away. Hayes has little to no mid-range or back-to-the-basket game, and that makes him predictable. But if you're only asking him to play in short bursts, throw down lobs, and crash the glass, then he has a chance to be serviceable. That is why some fans believe the Lakers should at least give him the benefit of the doubt before sacrificing assets. Now, the conversation shifts when we bring up players like Daniel Gafford or Nic Claxton. Gafford is the stronger, more physically imposing body who can anchor the paint. He is tough, he protects the rim, and he has shown he can start stretches when needed. But his new extension with Dallas locks him in at close to $18 million annually for the next few years. Paying that much for someone who projects to be a backup is hard to justify, especially when you consider what that money could buy elsewhere. With $18 million freed up, you could go out and sign 2 serviceable bigs instead of investing it all in one. Nic Claxton, on the other hand, presents a different type of profile. He is not the bruising presence that Gafford is, but he brings versatility that fits perfectly into the modern NBA. Claxton is one of the league's better switchable defenders, capable of sliding onto guards, contesting shots on the perimeter, and still protecting the rim. He is mobile, athletic, and at times looks like the exact type of big man the Lakers have been waiting for Jackson Hayes to become. In other words, Claxton already is the prototype Hayes has only shown flashes of. That makes him a compelling target, but it also raises questions about cost. Interestingly, Claxton's contract might make him cheaper to acquire than Gafford. He is set to earn just over $25 million this season, but his salary decreases each of the next 2 years, dropping to around $21 million by the final season of the deal. That descending structure is rare and valuable, especially for a team like the Lakers that constantly lives on the edge of the salary cap apron. A couple million in savings can be the difference between flexibility and being handcuffed to the deadline. On top of that, Claxton is slightly younger than Gafford, and the Nets might be motivated to move him without demanding significant assets in return simply because of the contract. If you compare the two options side by side, Claxton seems like the better bet. He fits different lineups. He can even play some minutes at the 4 next to a true center, and his defensive versatility makes him a weapon against the switch-heavy offenses that dominate the postseason. But once again, the big picture cannot be ignored. Even if Claxton is cheaper in terms of assets, the Lakers would still be tying up more than $20 million in a role player whose minutes shrink dramatically when games really matter. That is not usually the kind of move that pushes a team over the top. There is also the question of timing. The Lakers still have not solved their starting small forward spot, which arguably is the team's biggest need. Using players like Dalton Knecht or Rui Hachimura in a package for a wing could open up far more impactful opportunities. Imagine burning those chips for a backup center, only to watch a team like Toronto or New Orleans call about a starting caliber wing the following week. That is the type of mistake that can derail a season. You do not want to close doors on a player like Herb Jones, who would instantly transform the defense and provide long-term stability. For now, the smarter play seems to be patience. Hayes deserves a chance to prove himself in a defined bench role. DeAndre Ayton will handle the heavy lifting as the starter, and if things do not work out, there will still be options on the market. Players like Claxton, Gafford, and even Nick Richards could be available in the offseason when the Lakers have more clarity on their roster and their needs. Jumping too early just to lock up a backup risks wasting both assets and flexibility. Still, if the front office ever found itself in a situation where it was absolutely one or the other, Nick Claxton is the choice. His ability to defend in space, to switch on guards, and to keep up with the league's best perimeter scorers is rare. His contract descending each year adds a layer of financial relief that could prove crucial. And unlike Gafford, who is more of a traditional rim protector, Claxton fits seamlessly into multiple schemes. He can guard the pick and roll, protect the paint, and even hold his own on the wing. For a team that already has size in Ayton, adding mobility alongside him makes more sense than doubling down on another pure rim presence. But again, the Lakers' priority has to remain on finding their starting wing and keeping their bigger trade bullets in reserve for that opportunity. Giving up Connect or multiple draft picks for a backup five just does not line up with the team's needs. That is why so many fans are cautious, even as rumors fly. Everyone knows that role players can swing playoff series, but the wrong move at the wrong time can leave you locked into a roster that still has glaring holes elsewhere. This debate between Gafford and Claxton really highlights the tension every contending team faces. Do you chase the immediate fix, knowing it might not be the perfect fit? Or do you hold onto your assets, risk some early bumps, and keep your eyes on the bigger prize? For the Lakers, who are always under the microscope and whose championship window depends on maximizing every move, the margin for error is slim. And when it comes to backup centers, the smarter play may be to wait rather than rush into a deal that does not truly solve their biggest problems. One of the most important things to remember about this entire conversation is that the Lakers are not just managing basketball decisions. They're managing the economics of a roster built around stars. When you have players like LeBron James and Anthony Davis, every contract slot and every dollar counts. Overpaying for a position that might only see the floor for 10 minutes a night could ripple into other areas of team building. That is the underlying hesitation when fans hear about the Lakers dangling a first-round pick, a pick swap, and young players for a backup center. The cost is not only in draft capital, it is an opportunity. That draft pick could be the sweetener in a deal for a two-way wing. That pick swap could be what keeps another team on the line in negotiations for a starter-level guard. Once you move those pieces, they are gone, and you cannot get them back when the bigger need arises. There's also the narrative that backup centers can be found every single offseason. You rarely see teams giving up real assets to secure one because the supply always outweighs the demand. Athletic rim runners, shot blockers, energy guys, they are available in free agency and on minimum deals almost every summer. Even in mid-season buyout markets, you can usually find a veteran who can fill 10 minutes a night. That is why some argue that giving up serious pieces for Daniel Gafford or Nick Claxton is like paying top dollar for something you could eventually get at a discount. Yes, Claxton is a special defender and Gafford has size and rim protection, but when the Lakers are already pressed for resources, the long-term impact of burning assets for such a role has to be weighed carefully. The Ayton factor also looms large in this discussion. He is the player who truly shifts the Lakers' ceiling at the center spot. Unlike Hayes, unlike Gafford, unlike Claxton, Ayton is not just a rim runner. He has real skill in the mid-range. He can score over either shoulder. He can stretch defenses just enough to keep them honest. And he can create shots that do not rely solely on guards feeding him lobs. That is why, when playoff defenses tighten and game plans are designed to strip away your first option, Ayton still finds ways to contribute. The gap between him and the names being floated as backups is not small, it is significant. Which again raises the question, how much should you really invest in the guy who is only going to be on the floor when Ayton is resting? And yet, There's a reason these rumors surface. The Lakers front office knows that behind Ayton, the depth chart is improving. Jackson Hayes is the main option right now, and while his athleticism excites, his limitations are clear. Come playoff time, when scouting reports zero in on his weaknesses, Hayes risks becoming unplayable. If that happens, then suddenly the team is stretched thin. That possibility keeps the idea of trading for someone like Claxton alive, because having a player who can survive playoff minutes is a form of insurance. Still, even if Hayes flames out, the argument remains that the Lakers can plug the gap later instead of rushing into a high-cost move now. The financial structure of Claxton's deal is one of the few aspects that makes him tempting. A descending contract is a rare commodity, especially in a new salary cap environment with apron restrictions. Imagine the Lakers a year or two from now needing just a little bit more room to avoid penalties. And there's Claxton's contract shaving a couple million off the books each season. That small difference could be the separation between being able to use a mid-level exception or not. For front offices, that flexibility matters. But even with that detail in his favor, the total annual figure is still hefty for someone not guaranteed to play major minutes when it counts. The conversation naturally circles back to the wings. Every time the Lakers get linked to a center, fans immediately pivot to saying, what about the three? That spot next to LeBron and Davis has been a revolving door for years. A consistent, defensive-minded wing who can also hit shots would solve more problems than any backup center acquisition. Players like Herb Jones, Miles Bridges, or even R.J. Barrett bring a completely different level of impact compared to a 10-minute-a-night big. They would be on the floor, closing games, guarding elite scorers, hitting big shots, and giving the Lakers lineups that actually match up with the best in the league. That is the vision that draft picks and prospects like Connect should be saved for. It is also worth noting how the league views the Lakers as trade partners. Everyone knows this is a team in win-now mode, which means the price for them is often inflated. If another franchise smells desperation, suddenly the cost of a rotation player skyrockets. That is why discipline is so important here. Making a flashy trade for the sake of headlines or to quiet chatter in September can backfire when February rolls around and you are short on chips for the real move. The best front offices are the ones that can resist that pressure and play the long game. Still, hypothetically speaking, if the Lakers did swing a deal for Claxton, it would be fascinating to see how he is used. Imagine lineups where he plays alongside Ayton, switching out onto guards while Ayton holds the paint. Imagine small ball groups where Claxton is the lone big, but has the mobility to keep up with spread offenses. His defensive ceiling is intriguing, and there would be nights when his presence alone could swing momentum. But those flashes cannot overshadow the bigger reality. He would not solve the team's main weaknesses, and that is what matters most in a season built around contending for a title. For now, the best course is probably observation. Let Hayes prove himself. Let the roster settle. Keep the draft assets and young players intact for the bigger fish. There is always the chance that a star wing becomes available mid-season, or that a surprise name shakes loose from a struggling team. The Lakers must be ready to strike then, not stuck looking back at a trade where they spent heavily just to add a backup. Claxton might be the more attractive option compared to Gafford, but the principle remains the same. Backup centers rarely justify the price tag, no matter how versatile or mobile they may be. And for a team with the kind of stakes the Lakers have, every move has to be about the maximum possible impact, not the marginal gain. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, the Los Angeles Lakers may be on the verge of making one of the most intriguing moves of the offseason. According to sources close to the organization, veteran center Jonas Valanciunas is reportedly heading to Los Angeles, sparking a flurry of speculation among fans and analysts alike. Known for his physical presence in the paint, Valanciunas brings a blend of rebounding prowess, scoring efficiency, and veteran experience that could dramatically reshape the Lakers' frontcourt dynamics. While the move has not been officially confirmed, insiders suggest negotiations have been progressing quietly behind the scenes, with both sides reportedly enthusiastic about the potential fit. Valanciunas, who has been a consistent performer throughout his career, could provide the Lakers with a much-needed interior anchor. The team has struggled at times to maintain dominance in the paint, and the addition of a player of his caliber could address both offensive and defensive gaps. Lakers fans have been vocal about their desire for more stability in the center position, and the Lithuanian star's reputation for toughness and reliability might just be the antidote. His ability to set screens, protect the rim, and finish around the basket could open up new options for the Lakers' perimeter players, potentially giving them more room to operate and reignite their high-powered offense. The buzz around this rumored signing has been amplified on social media, with speculation running rampant about how Valanciunas would mesh with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Analysts are already debating whether his arrival could push the Lakers into a stronger playoff position or even make them legitimate championship contenders once again. Some skeptics argue that the team might sacrifice mobility for size, but supporters counter that a dominant presence inside could be exactly what the Lakers need in today's NBA landscape. While nothing is set in stone, the mere possibility of Jonas Valanciunas donning the purple and gold has generated a palpable excitement around the franchise. Whether this turns out to be a masterstroke or just another off-season rumor, one thing is certain. Lakers fans will be watching closely, and the basketball world will be buzzing with anticipation. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.